Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you most cordially from the beautiful Austrian folk museum here in Vienna.
I just want to announce very special things because it's easier for you to understand all these different languages which we have in this room, in this original room, in this physical room, and also in the virtual room. Because this is a Zoom conference, and when you look on your screen, at the bottom there's a bar where you can switch on and switch off your mic and also your camera. And now there is a special sign. This is like a globe. Our technician will show it to you. It's a globe where you can tip on, and then you can choose all your languages, either Italian, French, English, or German, of course. And here in the room, everybody has a headset, so you do not need to tip on this globe. I hope everything will work, because it's a little bit tricky, because we have a very international conference with online meetings and analog meetings. Okay, so I hope we have a nice day. Und ich switche jetzt wieder auf Deutsch. Soweit die technischen Hinweise. Ich begrüße.
So much for the technical side. I would like to welcome you most cordially here at this conference by the Organic Cities Network Europe. This is a conference by cities that focus on organic food and have networked towards this purpose. Together with Bioforschung Austria, the city of Vienna is the organizer of this conference, which has been actually handled by Plansin. Thank you very much. My name is Ilse Huber, and I will be your moderator today. Now, regarding the MO, today we'll have two short welcome addresses to be followed by one part about the organic production in Vienna. Then we'll have an international panel discussion in English, which will be held partly virtually and partly physically here in this room. Then we'll have presentation about the consumption of organic food, and we'll conclude more or less around 12:30. This will conclude this part of the conference, the public part of the conference. So let's start, and let's look at the way in which cities can be supplied with organic food in a sustainable way. We're talking about public institutions, nursing homes, schools, kindergartens. Against the background that Vienna wants to become climate neutral by 2040, food, especially organic food, plays a very important and essential role. Where does it come from? How is it distributed? And what can we do better in the future? Now, I would like to welcome Jürgen Czernohorski. He's not here physically in person because he is at COP26 in Glasgow, but he sent us a video. And I would like to say a few words about City Councillor Czernohorski. He's called Chair No Horski on Twitter because it's a very long name. And he said City Councillor for Climate, Environment, Personnel. And he is a member of the Viennese City Council and the Vienna Provincial Parliament. Now,
ladies and gentlemen, I gladly welcome you to Vienna. I'm very honored that you followed our invitation to be part of the Organic Cities Network Europe conference. Vienna is sustainable, Vienna eats sustainably, is the motto of today's event. As the city of Vienna, we want to show our efforts when it comes to organically produced food, and we'd like to share our strategies to supply the urban population in an ecologically sustainable manner. As you may know, we have made big steps forward in transforming the catering chains in hospitals, kindergartens, and schools into a system more based on high quality and sustainable food. Further than that, Vienna is also one of the very few metropolitan cities in the world with significant agricultural production within its borders. Our city offers a wide range of regional and organically produced food, More than 25% of our total land is used for agricultural purposes, and Vienna is the home for more than 30 organic farms. As you can tell, I cannot be with you today, and I'm highly disappointed about it because I would really like to discuss with you in person. But in my defense, I have a really understandable reason, the COP26 conference in Glasgow, where I am part of the Austrian delegation. We might be a few kilometers apart from each other, but we are doing just the same here as you do in Vienna. We are working together for a better climate, for a better world, and that world includes better and sustainable food. It includes organic food. With that in mind, I'm wishing you an exciting and interesting conference in the beautiful city of Vienna.
Vielen Dank. Ich glaube, klatschen. Wien ist also nachhaltiger.
So Vienna is and eats sustainably. This is the motto of today's event. I'm looking forward to your contributions and the impulse presentations. First of all, I would welcome also Claudio Serafini, who is deputizes for Josef Taucher, who unfortunately is ill. So Mr. Serafini, please come up to the stage. Unfortunately, Josef Taucher cannot be with us. As I said, he has a cold. Mr. Serafini is Italian. He's a philosopher, doctor of philosophy, who in fact has studied German language and philosophy in Berlin and Leipzig. And he was the president of Biocittà in Italy. He speaks a little German. And he also coordinated the Organic Cities Network, Europe. Floor is yours. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, all of you, everybody who is online and is here at this beautiful hall of the Folk Art Museum here in Vienna. I would like to thank you for participating in this conference, and I would like to recall a person who is not here, Georg Patak. When I came to Vienna for the first time for Organic Cities, and he was also part of the team. He was very committed and a wonderful colleague, and I would like to recall him. He is unfortunately no longer with us. So thank you very much, City of Vienna and the organizers of the conference. Thank you to Plansin and Madame Mateka, and also thank you to Bernhard Kromp, the head of Bioforschung Austria. When I arrived in Vienna yesterday, I learned that unfortunately, Mr. Taucher, the president of Organic Cities, cannot participate in this conference today. Therefore, I would like to wish him a speedy recovery. Josef Taucher would have certainly made an important contribution to the work of the conference because he's the co-founder of Organic Cities. And during his presidency, as you know, it's in his presidency, of course, is taking place in a difficult and challenging time for the network, and yet he has strengthened our organization. And after Greta Thunberg has mentioned blah, 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 the potential of not going ahead in the worldwide climate debate, I think this is very, it's very important that Mr. Taucher has made such an active contribution. My presentation is part of has three parts. The first one you've already held. The second one concerns the European eco movement, because it's not just organic cities, there are also organic national networks, especially in Italy and in Germany. The third part of my presentation contains a few remarks regarding today's organic farming air quality, or the quality of food, labor, or culture, public or private transport, personal security, or public parks and gardens. All these issues give us a feeling to be part of a city and of course part of Europe. But what do cities do in order to enhance sustainability and organic food? Let's take the example of Paris. Would like to add that Corans, for example, which was a small village in France with only 800 inhabitants, was the first, or Loro Ciufenna in Tuscany, a small town with little more than 5,000 inhabitants, but still these two small settlements are members of an organization. Seeham in Austria, with little more than 1,000 inhabitants, is another member of our organization. So during the entire conference, as you know, we will, of course, also talk about Vienna, the big city. So what is Paris doing in order to improve food quality and to combat and to minimize the environmental impact of 30 million meals that are handed out every year? The plan adopted for sustainable food, adopted in 2015, made it possible to achieve 53% of sustainable meals in a community catering by 2019. 46% of these were organic food, and this, in fact, made France a leading purchaser of organic foods in France. In Germany, there are 23 Biostädte, some of them the biggest. There are also Città del Bio in Italy, with about 40 communities and municipalities. They all focus on sustainable food supply and the promotion of regional economic cycles. All this is, of course, of great advantage for Europe. This is the future. And European cities have been working on this together with organic cities for the past years. We help cities to exchange experiences and information, to interact in projects, implement them together, and inspire each other. Of course, problems such as climate change or the redesign of the European food system, or for all this, of course, membership in organic cities is very important for the municipalities concerned. I would like to conclude with two remarks. First, trust and sustainability. And the current discussion on the future of the European agriculture and food system, and the way these two terms are linked with each other. These are questions that of great importance for consumers, farmers, and producers of organic food. Very important for them, for countries like France, Austria, or Italy. Trust is very important in human relationships, in friendships, in love, in families. And we know it's also very decisive for economy and finance. Citizens and consumers demand more, to have more trust, and want to place more trust in organic farming than in conventional farming. The higher price of organic prices, of course, has effects. But the question, this also raises the question of the value of healthy food and the value of fair society. But this is not enough. The organic world has the duty to react to this requirement of trust. Conventional farming is making positive steps towards sustainability. I'm referring, for example, to the question of regionality and seasonality, which reduces CO2 production and renders it easier to market high quality products and regional cycles. These are all steps towards sustainability of conventional farming, and this is welcomed by the world of bio, because as Mastriani would have said, a beautiful woman does not need it needs to say that other women are ugly just to feel beautiful herself. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Mr. Serafini, for concluding with this fun quote and something that is very important. Organic food really contains much more than just food and nutrients. It really also encapsulates trust. So this is really a big world in itself. And this trust, this value added, which is part of organic food, is something that we should really focus on. We will focus on the first part of our production, of our conference on organic production. We'll talk about what is cultivated Vienna, where does it come from, and what are the future perspectives of organic production in Vienna. This part of the conference will be moderated by Mr. Andreas Januszkiewicz. I would like to ask the speakers to come up to the panel. Ladies and gentlemen here, both here but also at home, can ask questions via the tool Slido. Now, in your program, there is a QR code. And with this QR code, if you scan it with your smartphone, will take you to a page where you can ask your question, please, only in German or in English. I will collect the questions, and at the end of the presentations, I will pass these on to our speakers to have a question and answer round at the end. I would like to ask Mr. Januszkiewicz to come up to the stage. Thank you for coming and being here today in person. Andreas Januszkiewicz has for 20 years been the director of the Municipal Department of Agriculture and Forestry of the city of Vienna. And he has really had hard times in recent past because, as you may know, there's been in the last weeks the worst forest fire ever in the history of Austria, in an area where Vienna gets a great part from its drinking water from. Now, drinking water is a part of the food code of Austria. It is a natural food, and actually what is the most important, the most vital element, of course, for human survival. Perhaps you can say a few words on how this major fire was extinguished. And recently, in the end of October, you've also been appointed head of climate affairs of the city of Vienna. This is a highly responsible job because you are answerable solely to the mayor and to the chief executive of the city of Vienna. So I'm looking forward to this panel. And please ask questions so I can pass them on afterwards to our speakers.
Thank you very much for this introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start with the forest fire that you mentioned. I'm happy that I can be here with you today. I've had a difficult 13 days. It's been almost the biggest forest fire in Austria. That happened in the area, in the water protection area, where Vienna gets its drinking water from. And there was no impact on Vienna's water supply. I just want to mention one figure. In 13 days, we had more than 14,000 lunch packages that were issued. So you can imagine how many people worked to fight the fire. Uh, and the team included up to 8,000 volunteer firefighters. You can believe me, I stood there quite a few times at the brink of tears when you know how difficult the work is, when you know what happened there with 14 helicopters in the air, 850 people on site. We had many people who were injured then, and the fire is almost extinguished. The situation is under control so that we know that the fire cannot recur. And, there will not be any rain. We have the driest autumn of the past 35 years. The cause was probably a fire. And probably somebody will right now sit at home being quite nervous because there is a specific person who is to blame for this forest fire. And it's very important in fire prevention that people know that it's not good to light a fire in a forest. So I was introduced as somebody who has held this function for 20 years. I'm responsible for agriculture, viticulture, and farming in Vienna, and also forestry. I'm very proud of this. When you go to a grocery shop, any grocery shop in Vienna after the conference, you will find organic potatoes in those shops, no matter which. This is something that we developed over many years. It's also of great concern for me that Vienna serves as a role model. As a city, we are a big organic producer. We have our own farm. We have 2,300 hectares of arable land. We have also quite a lot of 400 agricultural establishments, and 27% of them are organic farmers. Vienna, and we are speaking about the city which is one of the biggest German-speaking cities in Europe, and we are speaking about the city that is growing not by the land it covers, but by its population. So, what do we have in store for you? Since 2020, we have had the Vienna Food Action Plan. Vienna Eats Well is the theme of that action plan that focuses on more sustainable food than before. We want to improve. The Vienna Food Action Plan actually is the local counterpart of European Union's Farm to Fork strategy. I assume that everybody of you is familiar with that. With this action plan, sets out a clear commitment to high quality, healthy, sustainable, and affordable food. Social aspects are very important for us in Vienna, and also for food that is accessible for everybody. We do not want to have any groups who have access to organic food, and on the other hand, groups which are included. What does Vienna ist gut, spelled G-U-T. G stands for a healthy, Vienna, the consideration is that the whole food chain should develop along social, ethical, and environmental lines. And this is to cover everything from the seed to the fork. This approach also is in line with the DNA of Vienna. For more than 100 years, we have always been smart. This term smart means quite a lot. You can fill that with content. We have 7 fields of action. We will talk about them later on, but we want to focus on the action field 3, organic and regional production of high quality food and security of supply. We focus on this issue because it is also the theme of the Organic City Network. We will now have 3 keynote speeches of Viennese experts who will deal with this area from various perspectives. The moderator has already told you that you can ask questions via Slido. I want to ask the 3 gentlemen to come to the podium. The first one will present the focus area of research. This represented by Bernhard Kromp, who has contributed a lot to making it possible that we can have the conference as it is today. The second gentleman is has a very responsible position. He's my deputy, and municipal department 49 is not a small entity, so he has a lot of responsibility. And my colleague is Herbert Weidinger. The third gentleman is the president of the Chamber of Agriculture, Franz Windisch, who represents the farmers active in the city. A very warm welcome to all of you. So I would like to give the floor to Mr. Bernhard Kromp. Thank you very much, Mr. Januszkowicz. I would like to briefly present our institution, the Bioforschung Austria, and then provide some insights into research on organic farming. Could you please start my presentation?
Bitte kurz, jemand von der Technik.
Could a technician please help me?
Danke.
Thank you very much. We are a non-profit research institution that is also supported by the city of Vienna, the Forestry and Agricultural Department. This department funds my position and my deputy, while the employees are funded by the EU and national sources. We engage in the research on the improvement and innovation of organic farming as a climate and environmentally friendly production method for high quality food in Vienna. We have 7 examples of current research and know-how transfer projects. A typical project for the adjustment to climate change are intermediate crops, improving the soil structure and reducing soil erosion. We use leguminous plants. You can see in the roots in the picture, which fixate atmospheric nitrogen. And in this project, we intensively cooperate with researchers and organic farmers at 6 sites. We have had 21 field trials which were visited by more than 1,200 farmers and students. And as an output, we have produced brochures and material available from our web shop. A project where the laboratory is very active. We have a well-equipped laboratory. They have a project on compost research in order to improve the quality of compost produced from organic waste generated in Vienna. Compost can be used as a substitute for other for peat to improve the soil structure. The activities include the integrated assessment of compost maturity to phosphorus recycling from sewage sludge recycling. And boom is experienced by urban gardening in Vienna. We initiated the project Gardening in Vienna with a website and an information hotline. We issue an annual report on that, all the activities going on in Vienna. This website is available in German and English, whereas the website of my research institute is only available in German. Garten in Wien, Urban Gardening in Vienna is an information and networking project, but in our institute, we offer also further training. You can see the root arena in the pictures, the show garden. We organize workshops for children and also courses for adults. We have in the area of organic farming of green areas, we have the project Symbio. We have this focuses on measures to preserve plants for bees and other insects. These green areas can also contribute to improve the temperature situation. It's a know-how transfer project with many seminars and events. We cooperate under the Interreg program with the Czech Republic in this field. The activities include the monitoring of indicator species, for multifunctional activities through the production of fruits, nuts, wood, and other purposes for improving the income of farmers. It's multifunctional because it also contributes to an improvement of the microclimate and on the areas that are covered by these multifunctional hedges. We also engage in monitoring our flagship project in education and training, our certificate courses for soil practitioners, where farmers learn how to manage the soils in a sustainable way so that they can apply new methods to their own land and can pass it on to colleagues. They have a 9-day course, which in their own farm, which is also assessed by an expert jury, where we also do not only issue certificates, but also have an award. My time slot is over, unfortunately. Well, I would have liked to present 2 further projects, but unfortunately, well, thank you for your attention. I am still trying to open my presentation. Here we go. Good morning in Vienna. My name is Herbert Weiding. I'm the deputy of the Agriculture and Forestry Establishment of Vienna. I've worked in the city for 30 years, and I've focused on organic farming right from the start. It was one of my first tasks to draw the first maps and plans for the conversion of our farming area to organic farming in the Lobau area. It is important not to see agriculture in isolation, but also focus on the framework conditions. Vienna has a very strong focus on green areas, and green areas are important for agriculture to work. 50% of Vienna's land is covered by green space, forests, public gardens, but also private gardens. Vienna is committed to preserving the green space in Vienna, and only within this framework in farming and organic farming can work well, because this ensures biodiversity. We ourselves manage 20% of the city area, including forests and green space, in all strategic decisions of the city, be it the urban development plan and others, try to focus on maintaining 50% of green space in Vienna. When you look at the city on a map, you can see where the 50% are located. And we have different figures, be it 27 or 30 or 35%. It depends on the sources that you use, but they are all similar. 30% of the farms are organic farms, and 35% of the entire farming land is converted to organic farming. So Vienna is one of the pioneers and ahead of the objectives and the targets defined by the European Union. So we are making good progress. Vienna has edible farming, horticulture, but also big viticultural establishments. So all segments of such establishments are going organic in order to further raise the share of organic food. Everybody cooperates, be it policy makers, administration, and also the Chamber of Agriculture, in order to further raise the organic share. Vienna produces not only for the city itself. We call Vienna the cucumber capital and the tomato empire of Austria because the production in Vienna has been so specialized and developed so much know-how in Vienna that Vienna produces 60% of Austria's entire cucumber production, 61% of all eggplants are grown in Vienna, 35%, 4% of tomatoes, and so on and so on. And this is something that not many people know, that the city can produce more food in certain segments than it consumes itself. Now, with regard to the agricultural establishment of the city of Vienna, as my director already told me, we have we farm in the region of Vienna of more than 800 hectares to the south of Vienna, and all together 60 hectares are used for the production of grain. Currently, we have 1,800 hectares of organic production. First attempts to convert to organic farming started already in the 1970s when there were no European guidelines for that. Vienna, but as a organic pioneer, looks back on more than 30 years of successful organic management in urban farms. All that was also possible in cooperation with bioforschung, organic research. Research activities are very important, and as a result, we were able to produce organic food in a great diversity, but not only as foodstuff, but also seeds. We also need seeds for the coming years, and as a result, we can make available organic seeds to other farms. Vienna and the wine go together hand in hand, and we also converted viticulture to organic, and we now can have a regional supply, and they can serve as a role model in the production of organic wine. All that works in cooperation. The city is a big system, a big group of entities, and everybody has to work together so that it can really work. For example, in the field of organic compost, more than 100,000 tons of biogenic waste are collected every year in Vienna. These are composted and are in turn used in organic farming. It's compost is well suitable as a soil improver and as a fertilizer. Diversity and the social function also make part of the efforts. Agriculture also has social functions. Gardening in Vienna is an initiative. The city of Vienna also offers organic plots where citizens can harvest foods and organizes community gardens. And agriculture in urban area is a difficult thing. It's not that easy in this urban environment. You need to be accepted by the population so that residents can respect the agricultural activities. For this reason, the city of Vienna has environment environmental awareness raising activities, and at Landgut Kobenzl, a farm offers activities for children and provides information in a way that children can understand, so that they know where that children know where meat and food comes from, because children who grow up in city centers need to be made aware of agricultural activities. We have a campaign together with the Agricultural Chamber of Vienna and the Vienna Hunting Association. So, we provided small information boards which say, for example, very good that you do not walk on the fields, and so on. All that is necessary in a city in order to have agriculture as a long-term partner. But what is most important for me is the great variety of land use. That's not only agriculture, but many initiatives going on in the city, which are necessary in order to include the broad public into such activity. A major initiative is a little city farm as an organic harp, where 27 associations and initiatives cooperate. Some of them collect coffee waste in the city, and we have a Thai community specializing in growing pumpkins. A call for more fruit trees have been voiced. We've planted quite recently more than 40 trees bearing fruit. We do that in order to raise awareness of organic food and fruits. Bees are very important in the city. We have more than 100 beekeepers in the city, grazing initiatives in the city. In here we support farmers who try such initiatives, and the city helps them to raise acceptance in the population. This brings me to the end of my presentation. Diversity raises awareness for the importance of agriculture, and thus also improves the cooperation between policymakers and practitioners and the population, the city children and adults. Even during the pandemic, we had a great variety of activities in order to illustrate the great importance of agricultural production and organic farming for the population of Vienna. Thank you very much. Für mich auch.
Ja, einen schönen
Good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf, just a few words about myself. I'm a president of the Chamber of Agriculture of Vienna, which is the body representing the farms and farmers in Vienna. I'm also a farmer myself. And therefore active in Vienna, in the south of Vienna, on a fourth generation farm. So thank you very much. I would like to say a few words about what our chamber is doing and what we plan to do in the future. Now, first, a statement regarding important state that the future does not come about by chance. future can be shaped. And we are moving towards it with the strategic process that we're now implementing. First of all, just a few statistical figures, agriculture, Vienna, facts and figures. So this, don't, as we've heard, that differing figures based on a slightly different basis, but more or less they of course go together. So this is the number of farms, agricultural companies, enterprises that we have here. 40% of them are active in horticulture, 26.7 in viticulture, and 24.1 in agriculture fields. So a total of 577 enterprises. About 15% of the total area of Vienna are farmed in some way or other. And of course, in times of coronavirus, the importance of regional supply has decreased. And I must say, psychologically, it was very positive for our enterprises to feel that a regional supply is highly appreciated by consumers. Now, this cultural landscape, as I said, is very important, especially in times of climate change, because this landscape shaped by humanity helps the climate, is also an area for relaxation, and it is an important area of production of regional foodstuffs with a high share of organic products and organic produce. Now, how much is this actual production? As Mr. Breidiger has already mentioned, I don't have to mention how much it is because he spoke about the USPs. 40% of all protected areas in Austria are located in Vienna. I'm talking about greenhouses here and fields covered by foil. This is our output. 90 million euros is the economic output in 2020. And close to 3,000 persons, 2,788 work in Vienna's agricultural sector. Now, I've already mentioned that we've started a strategic process, and we're following three strategic goals. We've invited our partners, stakeholders, politicians of Vienna, the administration, municipal administration of Vienna, but also, of course, our farmers here in Vienna. We asked them all, what do we need? Where do we want to go? What are the opportunities, the risks, the challenges? Now, our first goal, the first column, is the development of the brand. Well, development of the brand of Vienna's urban agriculture. We want to distinguish ourselves. We want a clear designation of origin, because people have to understand that the product comes from Vienna, so it will be more appreciated. And we hope that this will enable us to increase the value, to improve our value in creation, which of course will be of benefit for the producers. So we need a strong umbrella brand. Second column is the development of the location, because obviously if we don't have the space available, we cannot produce, we cannot cultivate. But it's not only about the agricultural urban development plan for Vienna. The new one will be formulated by 2035 to achieve an objective by 35. So we have to strengthen the value of production. And the third column, which provides a nexus with today's conference, we've increased our share of organic farming more and more, inviting our farmers to follow this urban and future-oriented trend, both in production and in marketing. We want to become number one in the field of organic farming in all of Austria. So we want really to make use of the potential of this big city, this metropolis. And we want to produce on a basis of trust. It's not about unified prices, but individual solutions and the organization, so to speak, to render bigger and bigger share of our producers in organic through innovation, through digitalization. All these aspects are to be taken account of. And we want also to focus on proactive communication with the citizens. This is why I'm also here today. We want to communicate what we tend to achieve in order to position and maintain the uniqueness of urban agriculture in Vienna. Now, this takes me to production, the production, as I've said, 35% share of organically cultivated areas, third place in Austria for Vienna. Would also like to thank the city of Vienna for their excellent support in this development. Because with the subsidies granted since 2017, it would have been impossible for us to achieve 35% organic farms. And we now have a new action program starting next year where we want to further evolve this approach. So it's not only a transformation subsidy in order to help the farmers to switch over to organic production and take up this challenge, but it's also about long-term assistance also for marketing, for further training. And if we look at the diagram on the right-hand side, you will notice that, of course, consumption is growing. Now we've got 11.4% of organic products in supermarkets. You can say this is much, you can say it's little. We have an increase, of course, an annual increase, but especially in the supermarkets, we want to really step up our share. And secondly, we want to increase the share of organic food in communal catering. Then there's also the eco-purchase procurement program of the city of Vienna, where over 30% have to be organic products. And there's also designation of origin, gut zu wissen, good to know. This is an initiative that started in 2016 by the Chamber of Agriculture in order to mark produce as local. So, and then there's Stadternte, our brand. The slogan is so near, so good, so now, so good. And it shows clearly that it renders multiple benefits: climate protection, avoidance of transport, guarantee of fresh, carbon dioxide reduction, and of course, security, food security, because the quantity is also ensured. Quantity is ensured as well as quality is safeguarded, so we do not have to import from abroad. And finally, as you can see on the right-hand side, there's also an economic factor. Because if persons consumed only 1% more regional euros, people would spend only 3.5 euros more per month, and we could still create 445 workplaces additional and create 32 million euros of value added for Vienna. All the companies that are participating are certified, duly certified. All the produce is grown and harvested in Vienna, and the companies, of course, too, are headquartered in Vienna. I know I'm almost at the end of my time slot. So these are three value creation chains: cooperations with Vienna Beer, Otterkring Brewery, with also a bakery for the Vienna roll, and Vienna a bio soy tofu. These are again best practice examples that we've implemented in Vienna. And finally, and there's also a training program, an education program for children in order to sensitize them. There's also after work at the farm. So thousands of children are briefed, informed, and sensitized. They're given practical information about the produce of Vienna. But we also have this after work campaign for workers, for grown-ups, to learn about farms. And again, the whole thing is positive, is reinforcing. People are not to be told what to do, but rather to be commended and lauded for treating nature correctly. Especially, of course, in the time of coronavirus, green spaces are extremely important also for providing relaxation for the urban population. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope I've been too long, but I hope it's been worthwhile for you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to thank our three speakers, three of many, many people in Vienna who work towards this issue every day in Vienna. And I think it's been shown very clearly by the three speakers that on the one hand, Vienna can be proud of being number 3 amongst the Austrian provinces regarding organic production. After all, we're just a small federal province, contrary to Lower Austria, which surrounds us. But of course, the city finds itself in a difficult situation. And for example, children at the farm and other campaigns show that we're really trying to do something in order to involve people, explain to them what is important and win their enthusiasm instead of just forcing them or telling them what to do, but rather motivating them in a positive way. This is the approach that we've been following for a long time, which is also supported by politics very successfully. But of course, we're still learning and we want to learn. And this is why we want also to concentrate on the questions that have arrived and we would like to answer now. Yeah, we have several questions and I would like to thank you. There's a list of questions and one of them that seems to be very urgent is an unpleasant question. Namely, how can you protect the soil? Because after all, land is being gobbled up by new construction in Vienna. And how can you safeguard and protect green spaces? Well, whenever it gets difficult, I ask my deputy to step in for me. Well, starting with the urban development plan, because this is the most important document in this field. The urban development plan of 2035 is being formulated. We're also part of it. There will also be an agricultural sector that defines agricultural production spaces in order to safeguard the space. And of course, the question is, where can we unseal space, public space, and convert it? Unsealing is very important. And we're doing it on a small scale because the city of Vienna is now and then offering us smaller tracts of land, which we're trying to give back to nature. So this 50% of green spaces in Vienna is to be maintained. Yes, yes, certainly. This is to be preserved for the future. I think we have to differentiate. We're talking about arable land, land for agricultural production. And here we have to clarify the priority of production. I think after COVID-19, people have understood that it is important to have agricultural land. And following this trail, there is also the possibility to make it possible to have this land used by all parts, but in a limited way, because not everything can be used at max. Rather, in the Urban Development Commission, we are also a part, the agricultural urban development plan is being developed, is being formulated now, and priority is given to agriculture since 2004, because this is a USP. Since then, Vienna has an agricultural urban development plan, a very important mechanism in order to protect arable land, in order to avoid that this land should be used only for leisure. Last year, various protection categories were adopted, which is also an instrument of planning. And finally, the final right of decision lies, of course, with the city council and its majority. We can only ask the city council, we can only discuss and submit our concerns and hope that these will be taken aboard. And of course, climate is on our side. The importance of our climate is on our side. Another question. Mr. Januszko, as you said, Lower Austria is much bigger than Vienna and surrounds us. The question is now, what does Vienna do in order to step up organic production in Vienna in its wider environs? Well, as an enterprise of the city of Vienna, we are located not only in Vienna, but also in Lower Austria. We're 1,000 hectares in Vienna and 1,000 hectares in Lower Austria. So we are active in the same way in Lower Austria as we're active in Vienna. We are also an organic company, so to speak, and as Bioforschung Austria, as Mr. Kromp has mentioned, Bioforschung Austria is an important partner that cooperates with farmers from Vienna, but also from the federal provinces in order to promote the advantages of organic production. Mr. Kromp? Yes, I've already mentioned the certification course for soil treatment, where we also took part in developing this program, which was introduced 6 years ago. And we are offering a seminars that are followed by farmers, mostly from Lower Austria also. There's a new seminar, Water Saving Agriculture, which was introduced this year. It's a 3-day seminar. And we want to step up our seminar roster, and look, very happy that Viennese farmers will also participate. Just a short remark. Since we do this on our own, I think we're very credible because we are also an organic producer. There are many other questions, so we still have time during the coffee break to raise some other questions. Another critical remark that was mentioned. The next time it was said there should be more women on the panel. So thank you very much for these impressive presentations, because the facts and figures were really, really interesting. We now have a short break for 15 minutes, and then we'll go up from the municipal to the international level, and the panel discussion will be held in English, so we'll continue in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Now we heard a lot about how the Viennese way is of implementing organic production. But on an international level, what could be improved? How can cities learn from each other? What are the tools that could be copied? Or lies the answer in more cooperation between all actors, meaning those who produce the organic food and those who bring it to the people. Now we will discuss it. It is a special honor for me to announce Livia Pomodoro. She comes from Milan. There she's judge and deputy attorney at the Court of Appeal of Milan. Livia Pomodoro has a long list of activities. She is the president of the Ministerial Commission that drafted the new Code of Criminal Procedure Juvenile. She's chief of cabinet of the Ministry of Justice. She's president of the Juvenile Court of Milan. She's the president of the Court of Milan. And that is very interesting for our conference, she's the president of the Milan Center for Food Law and Policy. She is one of the authors of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact from the year 2019. This is a framework of sustainable food system and the United Nations Food Agriculture Organization, FAO. Generously, she sent us a short video, and now we want to hear her voices, which is spoken in Italian.
Buongiorno a tutti, è per me un vero piacere poter portare i miei saluti, seppur digitalmente, e a questo
Good morning to all of you.
legato ad un tema a me molto caro.
I would like to welcome to all of you, even though I'm only participating in a digital way. I would like to thank in particular Mr. Claudio Serafini for his valuable work during the past years, as well as all the institutions present who work towards a more sustainable future. Sustainability is a real priority of the citizens during the past few years. Already young people pay attention to engage in a more sustainable lifestyle. We see that the contribution made by the citizens has an impact on policy decisions in governments with regard to a sustainable change. Sustainability have been a focus of political discourse for years. We have engaged in a vital exchange between Milan and the Organic Cities Network. I was president of the research center of the Milan Center for Food Law and Policy, and this institution has become has made it its task to promote awareness raising with a focus climate change, food, nutrition, water. These efforts eventually led to the first UNESCO chair for the human right to food. In Italy, this chair has an important role to play in the field of academic studies so that we can continue to live on this planet. Our activities aim at providing strategies in order to secure life of people and the entire planet through a close exchange of experience and information in Italy and abroad. Thanks to the efforts made by Organic Cities, this is very important, and I hope that I will be able to welcome you in Milan very soon within the framework of the UNESCO activities. Thank you very much.
Cecilia Del Rey is possible present? No. Okay, because this is a small insecurity, because Cecilia Del Rey, she comes from Florence, and she's now also at the COP26 in Glasgow, and she said maybe she can get a connection to us and maybe we can talk to her, but at the moment we didn't reach her. So I will take a seat, and it's an honor for me to moderate this panel discussion. Here in Vienna, we are only 2 people, but all the others are online, and it's a great pleasure for me to introduce them all. Yes, now we are 2 people, 2 ladies on the podium, and in the afternoon there will come more of the ladies. First of all, herzlich willkommen, very warm welcome, Nina Abramczyk. Thank you for coming. She's a municipal councillor and member of the provincial parliament in Vienna for the Social Democrats since 2015. And since about 1 year, she's also chairwoman of the Municipal Council Committee for Climate, Environment, Democracy and Staff. Very warm welcome here in the Viennese Volkskundemuseum. The others are online, and I want to introduce all the others around the world. It's quite interesting because the world is now in this room. We have Diego Cangafano. I don't see him. Maybe he hears me. I hope he will hear me. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Diego Cangafano, he's a Spanish lawyer. And since 30 years, he's serving the European institutions in the Council, in the European Parliament, and in the Commission. He's at present principal advisor for the General Direction of Agriculture, DG Agri, in charge of the implementation of the action plan for the development of the organic sector. Very warm welcome to Brussels, isn't it? You are in Brussels, isn't it?
I am in Brussels. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Then I will, then I want to welcome Ronny Meyer. He's in Bremen, Germany. There he is in the Senate department. He's the state councillor responsible for climate protection, environment and mobility. He's a physicist and he's related to wind energy, for instance, beyond other topics. Hello to Bremen. Then we have Rashad Al-Kafaji. He's Austrian, and now he's the director of the FAO liaison office with the European Union and Belgium. Rashad Al-Kafaji worked at the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO. In 2003, he joined FAO's Fisheries and Aquaculture Department at headquarters. He was deputy director of the cabinet at interim and has been serving as special assistant to the director general since 2019. A very warm welcome. Are you in Brussels too?
Yes,
Hello. And then we have Eduardo Cuoco. He was born in Vela, Napoli, where he completed his studies in food science and technologies. He has been involved in organic farming since 1998 and collaborated with organic organizations and public institutions. Since 2008, he's working at IFOAM. Now he's the director of this membership-based organization, Organics International. IFOAM was founded 1972. Further, Eduardo Cuoco is involved in the establishment and management of the European technology platform TP Organics. Thank you for joining. And where are you now?
I'm also.
Oh.
For calling me up, and welcome to everyone.
So you see, we have a very international panel with very international locations. I'm glad to welcome you, and as we heard, there has been the Milan, that I pronounce it correctly, and there's the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact from 2019. Can you say some words about this food pact and how this pact influences your work? Maybe you first, Mr. Cuoco.
Yes. So first of all, let me say thank you to Organic Cities for organizing this discussion. Actually, I have a bit of echo in my headphones, so maybe I switch off the audio. Okay. Okay, good. Now it's good. No, I mean, first of all, I wanted to thank the Organic Cities for organizing this conference and for having me here with you today. So I would like to say that the Milano Pact, but the overall contribution that cities can give to the three-dimension of sustainability is very, very important. We as Organic Europe, as IFOM Organics Europe, are monitoring closely what is happening in the cities, what is happening in the local municipality. Cities can really give a concrete contribution to the development of more sustainable food system. Let me say that we believe that organic farming is changing in many ways. But one way that is changing is the understanding that organic is a political framework. I mean, nowadays, organic is moving from being just a production method to be a political tools that city can use to make our food system more sustainable. And what I think is important, looking back at Milan and looking at what we have now, is the role of cities that city can play in, directly in purchasing and educating citizens, purchasing food for citizens and educating them. And I'm referring to the sustainable public procurement issue, which we had some example in the first part of the morning, and I'm sure there would be others. But we believe that sustainable public procurement is really a powerful tool that cities have to change the behavior of citizens and to increase organic production. We have run a little study looking at what is happening in Copenhagen, which is one of the cities who has the highest percentage of organic production in sustainable public procurement. And we saw that we have people working canteens which is happier. We saw that there are people which are less sick. I mean, people working in organic canteen are happier and get sick less. People eating in an organic canteen have a healthier diet because they eat less and better meat. They eat fewer processed food. And they eat more plant-based rich meals. And we also realized that there is a much lower health cost. So in Denmark, there is a save of 300 euros per person a year compared to, let's say, compared to what was before the use of organic in public canteen. And we realized that investing €1 in public kitchen for organic saves every year 35 euros per person per cities. And indeed, sustainable public procurement also have an impact on climate change with less emissions and less waste production. This just to give you some example of what cities could do when it goes to sustainable public procurement. But as I mentioned, it's not only about buying the food and serving the food in the canteens. It's also about teaching citizens why it's important to change their diet habit and why it's important to go towards organic. And here the city can also play another important role by accompanying sustainable public procurement with educational programs, but also by putting in the curriculum of schools at all levels into the extra activity of, let's say, institution where there are canteens, educational program to understand how important is to eat healthy and how important is to eat organic food. What is the real value beyond the label and why organic food can be a game changer to realize the objective that we have in Europe now, to have a more sustainable food system, to have a sustainable food system that goes in the direction of reduction of pesticide, reduction of microbials, and the reduction of fertilizers. Thank you.
Monsieur Cuoco, I want to give the word to Mr. Diego Cangafano because you're at DJ Agri, and as Mr. Cuoco said, there is a special challenge and a special position for the cities in consuming organic food, but this has to be linked with the agriculture. What do you think about this Milan Policy Pact? How could it be implemented also for the DJ Agri?
Thank you very much for Organic Cities for inviting me and Dr. Claudio Serafine. I'm really honored to be here with you this morning. I wanted to say, we in the European Commission, we want to have 25% of organic surface by 2030. And today, the situation, the latest figures we have from 2019, we have 8.5%. Soon we're going to have nice figures, but we're still far away from 25%. Now, you in Vienna, you are one of the models of the European cities. And I'm glad to talk to, and I was listening, it's very impressive what you've been doing for many, many years. I talked about Vienna, but also Germany, Denmark, some parts of Italy, extremely impressive. But my problem as European Commission is that I have 27 clients, not only 4 or 5. And my main concern is to make sure that organic also develops in Bucharest, in Budapest, in Poland, in Bulgaria, in Croatia. And I have a very clear message to you, because you have such a high level of expertise. I would really like you to share your expertise with the cities that are lying behind. I hear a message interrupting. Okay, I was saying, I mean, you have a fantastic experience since many, many years. You're really now in 25% of surface. So I have a very direct message to you. Please help us and share your fantastic experience with the cities that need more help. And you have fantastic experience on green public procurement, how the supermarkets sell organic products, how the restaurants make promotion of organic food, how your companies have organic vouchers, all that fantastic experience. It would be great if you can share. How can you share it? There are several ways. I give you several ideas. You are a member of the Committee of the Regions, and there all the representatives of the European cities and regions are represented. But for example, I saw something while preparing for this speech. Vienna, according to Wikipedia, what I found, you have special cooperations with several cities. For example, I have in front of me the list of cities with whom Vienna cooperates. Athens in Greece, Bratislava in Slovakia, Bern in the Czech Republic, Budapest in Hungary, Krakow in Poland, Ljubljana in Slovenia. And those are countries, those are cities with whom you have already close ties. It would be great if you share that experience that you have with those cities. We can only encourage you to do so. But let me conclude with one final remark. We would need your help not only in sharing your experiences with European citizens. We would need your help in sharing your experience outside the European Union as well, because it is in our interest as Europeans that the whole planet becomes more organic, and not only the European Union. And so while I have the opportunity to talk to some of the European leaders, I think it would be great if you can help us in promoting and sharing your fantastic experience. That's what I wanted to say in a very blunt and direct manner. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diego Cangafano. I want to put the ball to Mr. Rashad Al-Kafaji, because this answer from Diego Cangafano said the cities should help, but it is the really big challenge to link the agriculture to the cities. And I think maybe the FAO, there's a greater aspect, a greater perspective. How do you deal this point of view between agriculture and cities concerning organic production?
Thank you very much. And I would also like to start by thanking the organizers and the city of Vienna. Let me also, for inviting me, and let me also start by saying that as a Viennese, really what I heard in the first part of this event filled my heart with joy and pride. We are certainly a city that is a model. We are certainly ahead of the curve, and we are certainly a place that many can learn from. And that brings me directly to another expression of gratitude that I have for Mr. Diego Canga. He made my job very easy here, because he already, let's say, advocated for exactly what we are trying to do, which is a strong cooperation among cities, a strong cooperation to share best practices, to share what is working and how it has worked. And this expertise is incredibly valuable. Taking a step back, just for you to see a little bit the perspective from FAO's side, Mr. Kanga was speaking of the 27 clients he has. FAO has 194 members. It has one member organization, the only organization within the United Nations system that has a member organization, which is the European Union. And we're celebrating 30 years of this membership this year. So it's also a very important milestone for us, in addition to two associate members that we have. FAO is looking at this within its new strategic framework that is systemic, which means this new strategic framework seeks to support the Agenda 2030 through the transformation to more efficient, more inclusive, more resilient, and more sustainable agri-food systems. And we do this to have better production, because we need to feed the world with a growing world population. Better nutrition, because we have to, and here organic farming plays an important role. We cannot be fixated on counting calories, because we know that food and food is not the same thing. A better environment, because we know what the pressures are on the natural resources all around us, and how this increase in production needs to come from innovation and not from just exploiting more natural resources. And obviously all of this leading to a better life that leaves no one behind. Now, this is the big picture. And why is this big picture important for cities? Because as far as I know today, about 55% of the world population live in urban areas. This number is supposed to increase to 2/3 by 2050. These cities and big conglomerates of urban areas, they absorb about 80% of the global energy. They are also responsible for about 75% of the global CO2 emissions. And so cities have to be part of the solution, as they are certainly also part of our problems. That is clear. Cities have to play an important role also when it comes to tackling issues that are indirectly linked, but with strong effect on our daily life. So if you take, for example, climate change, all of us here in Europe remember what happened just a few months ago with floodings that touched areas all around the continent, in addition to what we hear every day in the news coming from all over the world from the adverse effects of climate change. So this climate crisis is also something that is directly linked to tackling the issues that make us need to look at how we produce food, how we consume it, how we transport it, how we avoid food loss and food waste. Let me just point out that 1/3 of everything that is produced around the globe is being lost or wasted. Food loss is everything that goes from the field until we come to the supermarket. Food waste is everything that the consumer or the catering company or the restaurant basically throws away. These two elements together bring us to 1/3 of everything that is being produced, which is not only economically and ecologically a real problem, but it is a moral problem above all, with about 800 and something million people hungry every day around the world. So to come back to the cities and what they can do, FAO has started an initiative that is called the Green Cities Initiative. This was launched in 2020 at the General Assembly. Now, this Green Cities Initiative aims to ensure that we have affordable, healthy, environmentally sustainable food in the cities, that we have accessible green spaces in the cities, that we advocate for a green lifestyle, which comes with a new mindset, with a new change in how things are done, and which brings with it also new jobs and new areas of economic interest for the cities. This Green Cities Initiative is something where we are very much banking on the collaboration among cities, but also with all other stakeholders when it comes to the private sector, when it comes to municipalities, when it comes to the academic sector. And we are starting the idea is to reach an important number all across the world of these cities, but we are starting in Africa, where we have signed the first agreements with a number of municipalities. We are, of course, taking into account and building on what we have been doing in Milano since 2015, since the Expo where we have started the pact that you have mentioned earlier with the city of Milano and with a number. We are now at, as far as I understand, there are 100 cities that have signed this pact and that are working together. So cities have an important role to play. The organic farming is part of this sustainable and green attitude that we have to build, that we have to instigate in order to tackle so many of the problems that we have around us. And I stop here. Thank you.
A lot. It was quite interesting. And I just want to give the word to Mr. Ronny Meyer, because when we listen to all these statements, it seems that cities are the centers of innovation. Cities should advise other regions, should advise other communities, but also the rural area. So isn't there a big responsibility for cities to do all these things? And what does Bremen for it? What's your opinion, please?
Let me start with a big thank you for having me here. It's a proud and honor to be on this panel. I think the role of the city is very clear and was said in the statements before. It is a responsibility for the cities, but we have to deal also with the obstacles in reaching the political goals. So the political goals on an international or national or European level or whatever are very important because, so to say, they are some kind of driver for the cities, but the cities have to deal with all the obstacles in getting to this political aim. Let me tell you two examples. We do a lot of campaigning and lobbying to get in favor of the public opinion, because if you are introducing organic food, you have to deal with the costs in the hospital, in the kindergartens, in the schools. So it means that you have to reduce the share of meat. And you can imagine that is not always a good idea. And we do a lot of discussions with parents and all the people who should eat the organic food. So you need, as a city, also not only a political aim, you need to do a lot of lobbying and campaigning to reach the political goal. But the second point is you also need to educate all the people who cook in the hospital, the people who cook in the kindergartens, the people who cook in the schools, because it's not so easy that you just replace the conventional food with the organic food. You have to analyze and change the menu plans and often how the cooking is done in the kindergarten or in the school or in the hospital. So, and not in terms of responsibility, but not only in terms of responsibility, but also in terms of innovation and inventing new things, the cities play an important role. We also play an important role because the whole value chain of the agriculture ends, so to say, in the city, but also in the rural areas. And we see this project we have in Bremen not only as a project for us as a city, but also for a project for all the local districts, the communities around Bremen, because we have a lot of consumers here in the city, but the production of the organic food is done around Bremen. So in the end, for me, at least I can see it, it is a win-win situation for the city and for the areas around the cities, because you get a closer understanding of the value chain, you get a closer understanding of the whole supply chain. You can walk or go with the kindergarten to where your food is produced. All the people can learn how organic food is produced and brought into the cities. It's not just for cities, it's also good for the rural environment, the rural countryside close to Bremen.
Ronny Meyer, I just come back to Vienna, and as I see, there are so many aspects, but how could it be done? Is producing, consuming organic food, is this a question of education? Oh, how did the city work like that?
I don't know. Does it work? Yes. I think it's especially about choices you make. as we already heard, the majority of people live in cities, and there will live even more people in cities in the near future. And cities have always been places of creativity, of innovation, of people coming together and creating new ideas and new ways. So I think it's a really big chance for cities to move forward regarding production of food, to have healthy and accessible food for all, protecting biodiversity, and also fighting food waste, as we already heard, is something you really have to work for. It's nothing that just happens. You have to have commitment as a city, but you also have to find strategies, and it might be different for different cities because not every city has enough green areas for agriculture. We heard a lot about Vienna's special ways today, which might not be possible for other cities because they don't have the areas. Our city councillor Jürgen Czernohorski was in Paris this year. I was there with him, and it was really interesting because they have way less green areas. So what they are trying now is rooftop farming, and it's interesting to learn about that. And it might not be ideal as a solution for other cities, but it's something to learn about and to see if it might work somewhere else. The important part are networks and conferences like today, where people can come together and share their expertise, share their knowledge. But I think what's really important, we are here today, some of you are online, but that there's a good documentation of today, which is accessible to others. All the knowledge and expertise is something we have to share and to give to people, so they can also change their way of consumption, but maybe also change or think about where the food comes from. We heard from Bremen already that cities are very often not the producers, although we in Vienna do produce a lot of food, but very much it's about consumption. So what we do need is to raise awareness with the people, where the food comes from, how the supply chains look. And I think that's not just about the ecological standards, but also about social standards. How is the food produced, under which circumstances? Because we want a good life for everyone, and not only those who consume the food, but also for those who produce the food. That's something really important. I think it's important to look for best practice models all around the world, and I really think we can learn from each other through all science and innovation. And we know that some things that might have worked for cities for probably decades might change in the near future due to climate change. So it's even more important to learn from each other and to see what cities already do regarding food production, and to make all this knowledge accessible. As we already heard, it's important to show kids how it is produced, but also all the other people just to know how important food is, to not throw it away, because there's a lot of work to produce it. And I think it's really hard to see how much food is wasted everywhere. So let's talk with people and include them, and make it possible, especially for cities, whether it's the politicians or the administrations. It's about getting together and exchanging all this knowledge and expertise.
Thank you a lot, because maybe it's for me something like we have to go new paths. Maybe, as you mentioned, we should just look for new areas, maybe rooftop or something like that. Of course, that are not a large areas, but maybe this is one point, just to go further from the other side of the way, not only this way which we just did 100 years ago, and now we are at the tipping point, I would say. First of all, I just wanted to interrupt a little bit, because I'm really pleased to welcome Audrey Pulvar. She's online now, and she's in Paris, and she gave us hello, Audrey Pulvar. And it's a great pleasure that we have the connection to you, and I'm really glad, and I just want to say some words to your person. Audrey Pulvar, she's a feminist and environmental activist. She's born in Martinique, and she worked as a journalist since 1992. In March 2019, Audrey Pullois joined Paris en Commun and worked on the elaboration of Anne Hidalgo's electoral program for the 2020 municipal elections. She's the mayor of Paris. And maybe you can tell us, she wants to get a French president, isn't it?
Yes. French presidency.
So very tough women in France. So I just wanted to know, because did you listen a little bit to our discussion, or you just jumped in?
I'm here from about 10 minutes.
Okay, so it was quite interesting because we made a trip around the world, I would say. And what I just wanted to know is, what did Paris did since the Million Food Project plan since 2019? Has there been any changes?
Yes. First, good morning. Hello to everybody. I'm very pleased to be here with you today. Je vais continuer en français, donc merci beaucoup de votre accueil. Effectivement, j'ai été longtemps journaliste politique en France, et puis j'ai quitté le métier de journaliste en 2017 pour prendre la présidence de la Fondation Nicolas Hulot, qui est une grande ONG environnementale et de lutte pour la préservation du climat. Puis j'ai rejoint Anne Hidalgo et aujourd'hui je suis adjointe à la maire de Paris aux questions d'agriculture, d'alimentation durable et de circuits courts et de circuits de proximité. Depuis 2019, oui, beaucoup a été fait et nous allons amplifier encore les choses. Paris est engagé depuis plusieurs années pour le développement d'un système alimentaire qui soit durable, résilient, sûr et qui fournisse des aliments sains et abordables à toutes et tous, quel que soit son revenu, et qui garantissent aux agriculteurs qui fournissent leurs produits à la
food, which guarantees to organic farmers a good income. And this is a form of policy that has so far been successful. We also have tripled the number of production sites in Paris, and many products are being distributed to schools and kindergartens and to canteens. More than 53% of these products are from biologically farmed, organically farmed. This is a new attitude towards agriculture, and we want, of course, to attain 100% organic food, especially in Paris. But it's also about the environs of Paris. We want to become fully sustainable, not only for Paris, but also for the environs. And in order to achieve these goals, we want to create one institution in Paris, a kind of provider structure for the distribution of biologically organically produced food. This is to facilitate the transition towards organic agriculture, but also mitigate environmental damage, because it must be our objective to prevent that so much food is thrown away. So this transition in agriculture is, of course, to secure better income for farmers. It is to reduce environmental damage and result in the production of high quality food for the population, citizens of Paris. And as already said, we also must reduce the waste of agricultural products. And a lot is done for that. But this, of course, is a cycle that begins on the farm and ends on the farm with compost. And of course, there are many people who are working towards this. And we have to work further in order to fine-tune this closed-loop economy. For this, we need a great many instruments. Well, this is basically what I wanted to say. And we must also be able to finance this. As I've mentioned, there are many projects that want to ensure the transition to organic production in agriculture. All agricultural sectors are in some way engaged with this in order to bring about greater sustainability. Thank you very much.
Very interesting. I have just a very short question, because as you said, there has been changed so many things, but do you think as a very special project to invite farmers from the surrounding from Paris to produce for Paris? Are there special contracts, or does Paris have own areas where you could produce?
D'une part, effectivement, nous soutenons et nous allons soutenir de plus en plus.
Well, we support this transition, and of course, this can be possible. This can be done with these in cooperation with these farmers, because the environs of Paris is actually a highly agricultural area. So for us, the challenge is not so much to involve these farmers, but to make them more organically oriented. This includes also animal husbandry, not only the production of agricultural fruit, vegetables, and similar products. Of course, there are also some areas in Paris that are suitable for the production of food, but they're limited, as we've heard. But we've already heard there's also cultivation on the roofs of Paris, not only of Paris itself, but also in the environs. This is something that has to be continued, and I think that the population of Paris is aware of the fact that we need change. Now, about 250 kilometers around Paris. So this is the environs of Paris. There are quite many farms that are producing organic food. It's very important for us, and that's very important for us. And this is what brings me to the end. That we don't simply just want to be the center where everything happens, where we have the best agriculture. No, we want to remain in a close cooperation with the cities around Paris in order to ensure exchange of best practices. And of course, Paris does have a dominant position. It's the biggest city, but still, it must not be the sole hub. Thank you.
A lot, Audrey Pulvar. It's very interesting, and I just wanted to ask you if you have any other regions or cities which you have in mind, maybe as a role model. But when I'm listening to you, maybe I give the ball back to the others, and I just beg all my participants to answer shortly, because when you hear the Parisian way of thinking, of acting, maybe this is one step to the solution. I will start with Nina Abrahamczyk.
Yes. Hi, Audrey. We met in July in Paris, so it's great to see you again. And there's a lot we learned when we visited Paris. I think it's really about learning from each other. What cities can also do is they can be role models by I mean, if you have your own agriculture as a city, as we do in Vienna, it's easy to say, okay, we go organic. But it's about also showing that it's important where food comes from to you as a city by the power of purchase. There's so much we buy as cities. You really have no idea how big the numbers are. But to say, there's a mobile phone somewhere, to say that we decide what criteria we need to purchase something is really important. It's something we can do. And we are also working in Vienna to make it more important, to look at the supply chains, to show where it comes from and how it's produced. And it's important for people to, we saw it now in the pandemic, when you suddenly couldn't be sure if everything would be here in the city and would find its way here. So people are looking forward to know more about that. But it's also something where we as a city can say, and show them, we already heard it from President Windisch, to show it's made here in our city or near our city, and it might have a label to show people how important this is, but also make it available for them, because not only, not every city produces enough to have it in the local supermarkets, so it's also important to have farmers markets which are accessible, hopefully by foot, for people to get there, and to have good food, which is not only local, but also seasonal and hopefully organic. And I think it's important, seasonal is important because we are so used to have everything ready here in Europe, to buy every single fruit in the middle of winter. And actually, I think that's not important. It should not, we should learn to listen to nature again. So that's one of the most important parts. And actually, sometimes I'd rather have fruit and vegetable, local and seasonal. And I would say it's okay if it's maybe not organic, but because it did not have such a long way to get here, to get to people. It's just about raising awareness, how it's produced, where it comes from. And as we heard from Bremen before, also how to work with the food so that it does not go to waste, and also how to cook it, especially. That's something we can do to help people understand.
I just want to give the parole to Diego Cangafano. When you listen all to our participants, is change possible by acting?
Yes, it's really change by acting. Let me just say one sentence in French to the attention of Madame Poulbard, then I will continue in English. Donc vraiment, Madame Poulbard, nous sommes très impressionnés, on vous suit, on connaît ce que Paris fait. Je travaille à la Commission européenne et nous citons souvent Paris comme un exemple à suivre. Yes. But what I wanted to say in English for all of you is just pay attention to what Mrs. Poulbard just said. So 250 kilometers around Paris, they are getting organic food. So the point that I want to make is that organic food, when you have a city, a powerful city purchasing, the benefit of growth and jobs is not only in Paris, it's also in the rural areas. And I rejoin the point that Mr. Al-Kafi made before. So if we really want to spread population, not only in urban, but also in rural areas, the more the cities like Vienna and Paris and Bremen and the others push for organic products, the better for the areas surrounding those big cities. I was very impressed about the figure of Mrs. Poulbard, 250 kilometers. Normally, I thought it was a bit smaller, but because of the size of Paris, it makes sense to talk about 250 kilometers. Normally, it's 50 kilometers around the big cities. You have an extremely good impact on growth and jobs. And I think one of the things we need, so organic food is not only good for environment, of course, that's very important, but it's also great creating growth and jobs of high quality. So the more I listen to the cities, the more I encourage you, please replicate your example outside your cities. I mean, we need you to be ambassadors of your success stories all around the European Union, because you are going to create growth and jobs in the organic market outside the big cities.
Diego Cangatano, thanks a lot. I just want to ask Ronnie Meyer if he's on the way, not only talking, you know, the blah blah is in our ear everywhere. What could be done to be more active?
Yeah, as I said before, it's not just the political targets, it's dealing with all the problems and obstacles and the operational stuff. For example, we are currently designing and implementing a so-called training kitchen where we all educate the cooks from the kindergartens, the hospitals, how to deal with the organic food or food. As mentioned before, often those kindergartens and hospitals order just food. And if you change to organic food, they have to prepare fresh meals and they have to learn it, so to say, again. And that's why we implement a so-called training kitchen that is part of our project to reach the political goals, for example. And we will do great campaigning here in Bremen to influence, so to say, or to do lobbying about the political or the public opinion to get support also from the parents of the children who should eat organic food.
Ronnie Meyer. I just want to switch into the FAO because it has been a question which could be quite interesting because organic food is also received as a first world problem. What do you answer these people?
Okay. First of all, I think we need to pass this issue of first world and third world. Just as much as hurricanes and floodings, they don't stop at borders. Just as much as the criquets pèlerins, like in Africa, that are going from one area to the other, the desert locusts, they don't stop and check at the border. These big natural phenomena that we're seeing, they don't stop at borders. And the classifications that we have and the thinking that we have a different set of problems in the first world than we have in the third world is starting to become more and more flu. We have to be absolutely clear about that. Yes, indeed, we, thank God, do not have major hunger famines in certain areas, and we unfortunately have them in others. But that does not mean that the problems are not very much related or that the problems are even linked. Let me give you one example. From the perception of, for example, Southeast Asia, looking at Europe, they are very often shocked by the low diversity of food that we have in Europe. So they come into a supermarket and they see that we have only a few kinds of cucumbers. And in China, if you go, you will see that they have a variety of cucumbers for the different uses. There's an extremely interesting project that is done by an organization called Forgotten Foods, where they are trying to revive old kinds and old varieties that we have lost. And that's a very, very common issue. If you take anybody's grandmother, grandfather, they will remember more kinds of apples or pears or whatever fruit is normal and local than we have today. So the issue of organic being a first world problem is not that much the question, in my opinion. It's more the question of, are we going back to sustainable agri-food systems? Are we ensuring that we have a circular economy principle? Are we ensuring that we have climate smart agriculture? And those questions are global and they touch all of us. You know, when we talk about ecosystem restoration, it affects Europe just as much as it affects any other area in the world. You know, when it comes to the responsibilities or the role that policymakers at the local level play, it is a matter that obviously, depending on the challenges that they face, might be different, but all of them need to face some of these challenges. Let me, you know, you just mentioned the word blah, blah, and I know that this is becoming more and more of an issue. We need all to show that we go beyond the blah, blah. We have this approach at FAO of aiming high, but doing concrete. And doing concrete is, I think, exactly what cities are all about. because cities need to be applying what they preach, and they need to show to their citizens how things are being done. Let me give you as an example. We have just recently translated, together with the help of members of the European Parliament, into Portuguese, a kit for school kids and for schools to use in order to educate children about food loss and food waste, what they can do, how growing up as consumers that are aware of the issues, how this changes. And you can imagine young interested children, how much you can sort of make them already part of the solution and make them maybe educate their parents or their older siblings. So these are things that are very concrete and that are feasible. And I would very much like to see the city of Vienna, for example, join us in such a project and make sure that the Landesschulräte in all of Austria are part of this. It's not the difficult thing. It's not an expensive thing. It's not complicated nowadays, but it brings concrete results. Let me take another example, because Mr. Meyer in Bremen said that we also have to look at the political realities, and obviously cities don't work in a vacuum. But Paris is going to be the capital of the country that is presiding the European Union as of the 1st of January. So for 6 months, the French presidency could also play a role in that by making sure that these experiences, that these strong let's say, paths of expertise that Madame Pulvar has just told us, impressive, that this is also not only disseminated at the European level, but that we can also work together at the global level and see how this can be done. Because mega cities are going to be the cities of the future for sure. And many of these mega cities are strongly, strongly affected by climate change. Many of them are very close to the seashore, and they will be the first affected by rising sea levels. So there is so much interconnectivity there that I believe that the question goes well beyond talking of first world problems or second or third or fourth or whatever classifications there are. The world is becoming much closer when it comes to the issues, the problems, the effect. And let me just finish by saying anybody who still thinks in first and third world problem categories should take a very close look at Corona, and we'll see that this has proven us all wrong when it comes to how the pandemic has affected everybody around the world.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Rashad Al-Kafaji, but I have to say that there's a distinction between those countries who got the vaccine and those countries who didn't get the vaccine. I think there could be a lot of discussion at many levels, but this is another place to discuss, of course. At last, I just want to talk to Eduardo Cuoco, because maybe his organization, your organization, shows possibilities how to act. And what do you think about all these opinions which you heard? Maybe you can implement them. What do you think about it?
Thank you. Thank you again. And let me say I'm very happy to be in this roundtable today, because I'm learning a lot, and I'm experiencing once again what such an innovation lab are cities. I mean, you are really making innovation on the ground. You are really a laboratory where let's say, new ideas are coming into concrete. And that's great. And we as IFAM Organics Europe are trying to work more and more and learn from you. I mean, we are involved in 2 research projects which are funded by the European Commission. One which is about shifting the food system towards more sustainable one, and another one which is about having the school as a tool for change. And I think this project will help us as an organic sector to understand better what we can do to support your efforts, but will also serve as a platform to exchange peer-to-peer among cities. And I think this will be a very powerful tool for the development of a more sustainable food system in the cities. I would like to say that I agree with all has been said, and I would like to make 4 points. I mean, first of all, I think it would be a very strong motivation for government leaders at all levels, so from cities to province, regions, and so on, to really set up clear national and municipal goals. I mean, we know that the cities we have today around the table, they're excellence, but it's not the case all over the world and in Europe. So we need to make sure that cities get involved into this change, and we we can help them by helping them to set up targets so that both kitchen leaders and food service industry together with the political leaders can feel committed to this target. And then the colleague from Bremen talked a lot about the importance of financing education. Indeed, this is really crucial. It's crucial to finance innovation to make this conversion towards organic. Education is needed because the shift is not just a replacement of conventional food with organic, but it's a complete change in the purchasing strategy, in the food preparation, in the meal planning, and indeed in the waste reduction. Then we would like to share with you the experience we saw in Denmark, but also what is happening now in France with a standard that is not a national standard, but it's a private one, but it's a standard with giving a label to the canteens. And this, we believe, is a key ingredient because it addresses both the documentation, so it helps to understand what a canteen is doing, but also the motivation. And in Denmark, they have a system of 3 labels for organic canteen, from 30 to 60, from 60 to 19, and from 19 to 100. And you get this label accordingly to the percentage of organic food in the canteen. This recognition is has been taken also as a challenge from the canteen. So people wants to get higher and move to the next step. So it's a great motivation for the workers and for all the leaders who can be interested, even only such in branding their canteens. And then finally, I think it's important to discuss about capacity building of the organic sector. I mean, the organic sector is not developed all at the same level in the different cities, in the different areas of Europe. We need support to make sure that we can have appropriate sourcing, a sector that can really deliver what the food industry needs in this kitchen conversion. And finally, I would like to just mention 2 barriers that we need to work together to overcome this barrier. The first one is about the uncertainty regarding the legality of the new public procurement policy. We, in our talks with city, very often receive the question or receive the concern that maybe going local, going only organic, can represent a problem into the internal market legislation and so on. We need cities to teach other cities that this is not a problem, that this is a barrier can be overcome. And maybe the European Commission can help us in this also by promoting the idea of advisors who can help the cities to write down the public procurement in the right way, without the fears that then their public procurement documents are not correct. And then there is another fear, which is about the barrier of cost and bureaucratic work. I mean, before I mentioned that for each euro invested in an organic canteen, there is a return of 35 euros saved in health cost. That's data from Denmark. That's just one little drop, one little economical assessment that we did. There is much more that we can do to explain that actually the cost of investing in organic is a cost in the first phase, but is a saving in the second phase. So more organic food means less health cost, less food reduction, food waste, and less environmental cost on the citizen taxes. So I think we can all together work in this direction. And once again, like Diego did, like Russia did, we need cities to talk each other. We need you to exchange. We need you to be in a good network. And indeed, Organic City Network is one of those. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. That was really a very important point. That's what I wanted to say, that this Organic Cities Network is the first step to talk to each other all around the world, but also to our people around us, just at the moment, and maybe in 2 hours and in 6 hours. Maybe this international organic network is one catalyst or something like that, that we can promote it everywhere. I'm really glad that you joined us in this very special discussion type, I would say. One analog person, Madame Abrahamczyk, and the others are online. Of course, it's normal, you know, but it was a great pleasure for me that we all came together, we talked together, and we maybe learn from each other. And I'm very pleased that you had time to join us now. And I wish you a very good day here from the Volkskunde Museum from Vienna. Have a very nice day. And you wanted to say something, Diego Cangafano?
Yes, just a final that I forgot. Sorry. The European Commission is organizing next year with some other bodies like IFOAM, Committee of the Regions, a competition of European awards. We've never done it before. There are national awards, but we are organizing European awards next year. And one of the awards will be the best European organic city. It will be organized next year, and I encourage you to participate. Some of the previous speakers said we have to avoid the blah, blah, blah. So let's be specific. There's going to be a competition next year on the best European organic city. Why are we organizing that? Because we will disseminate why the city X will be the winner. So this is, please keep us the news next year, but we are work in progress, but you will get more information about us in the couple of the next few months. Thank you. I forgot to say that, but it was very important.
Oh yes, really a big news. I think everybody will appreciate it, and I thank very much to everybody here in the room, everybody behind the screens, everywhere you sit in Paris, Brussels, Bremen. Thanks a lot and have a good day. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know this has been very, very busy up to now, a very busy meeting. Since we're running late, I would like to continue with the next part of this morning's program. First, there were a few organizational remarks. Since we're having a very international program, a tight program, everything that has been said and translated will be documented in all languages, English, French, German, and the recording of will be available on the homepage. On the website of this conference, not perhaps in 2 hours, but in the next few days. I think this is really great that this will not be only an ephemeral event, but it will last. By the way, you see these lovely Hokkaido pumpkins. They come from Simmel in the 11th district of Vienna, from the Fleischhackel farm. They are organic, of course, and if you want, please take one along. You're invited to take one along. So this is one nice thing to enjoy, a tasty pumpkin. Now, this takes me to the next part of our event, organic consumption. Now, what are the most important aspects here? What parameters are significant? How can products be not only produced, but also distributed so that people will actually can enjoy them? Now, our first speaker is Thomas Moser, an expert in food and organic technology, and works for the Vienna Municipal Department of Environmental Protection, where he's in charge of the eco-purchase sustainable procurement program. And everything from cars to paper are checked for sustainability, and 30% of all material refers to organic food. So we purchase at least 30% organic food. And very important factor, he also I was one of the authors of the Vienna Food Action Plan 2020. One of the fathers and mothers, so to speak, of this action plan, and it's called Wien ist gut. Vienna eats well and is good, and the three aspects: GUT, healthy, environmentally solid, and respecting of animal welfare. So, and now we have several ladies. After he will be followed by several ladies. He's our only male speaker in this part of the conference. Thank you for your kind words. I would like to welcome you at the second thematic segment of the conference. We're talking again about sustainable food for the city, and here the range will embrace everything from Vienna eats well, that is communal catering. We will speak about the direct marketing of organic food, and about the Vienna food strategy. Moreover, I will speak about citizen participation processes in the context of Local Agenda 21, and I will conclude with Vienna World Plate Land, Wiener Welttellerfeld, specifically Viennese project. This will be the last presentation. So my role is a double one. First of all, I'm the moderator in the second part of the good practices of Vienna. I also will give you a short introductory speech. So let me speak as the consumer, a municipal consumer, so to speak, the city of Vienna. Now, the Vienna Food Action Plan from the consumer's perspective. About 25% of our net income, Austrian households, 25% are spent on housing, 16% on leisure and holidays, and 10% of the average household income is spent on food. So we invest the same in bakery goods and bread as in sausage and meat, but only half of that sum in vegetables. The same goes for the same amount is spent on sweets, by the way. So looking at the menu, this produces, this results in, and this leads to, of course, certain expectations on the part of children at schools, but also of elderly persons in nursing homes. And you can imagine that this creates some problems. Our food system generates a number of negative effects on people, on animals, the ecosystem, climate, and therefore we have to also to consider that these 10% spent on food is a very low percentage compared to the past. It does not certainly reflect the true cost of food. And very often we don't know where at least part where our food comes from and what conditions this food is produced under. We've heard about the negative impacts a little bit because our food system is actually responsible for 25 to 30% of all greenhouse gases. We have a tremendous lost drain of biological diversity of various species of plants and vegetables and fruits. But these effects can be partly mitigated by political decisions and also by consistent administrative action. The Vienna Food Action Plan is also part of this strategy. You've heard in the first block today that with our food action plan, we have heard about the objectives of our food action plan. On the one hand, it is analogous to the farm to fork strategy of the European Union, and was, in fact, it was adopted by the Vienna Provincial Parliament in 2020. It sets out a clear commitment to high quality, healthy and sustainable food. It also considers social, ethic and environmental issues. And climate issues along the whole food chain at the level of the entire city. What is very important here is that all measures of the city were concentrated in 7 fields of action. We are currently developing an 8th field of action, fair delivery chains. And in my presentation, I would like to present some of these activities based on these 7 or 8 fields of action. As we've already heard from Bremen, we have similar objectives. We too are interested in further training cooks in dealing with organic food. We want to improve their food competencies, but also the food competence of children. We want to purchase a food trailer like Karlsruhe and Berlin. So we're in fact learning from each other, from other cities. We want to organize cooking workshops, shops for children. And in January 2020, we will start a School Food for Change Horizon project here. 2 Vienna is participating, and again, it's again about the integration of sustainable food in the full curriculum of schools, the culture of schools. An important field for action, of course, is communal catering and public procurement. As you've already heard about Ökokauf, Eco-Purchase, the program of the city of Vienna, which plays an important role. But also what we have to think about is communal catering for the city itself. This is about increasing the share of organic quota in purchasing food. And this is the kind of the genetic code of the Eco-Purchase program. It's about setting minimum criteria and requirements for procurement regarding food and the services rendered in connection with food. We also need training for all staff members concerned with procurement in the field of communal catering. Here you see an overview of catering in Vienna, communal catering in Vienna. Every day, 100,000 meals are served in hospitals, nursing homes, kindergartens, and schools. You can see there are 2 systems that we're using. One, we have fresh kitchens, but cook and chill system. But of course, this is also based on fresh cooking. And fresh kitchens are to be preserved in various institutions. Our minimum quota for organic foods is 30%. We're actually above that. With kindergartens and schools, we're above 30, only 50, but perhaps even 60%. And this organic quota is being increased on a continuous basis. The regional origin of food has already been mentioned several times today. Again, more than 60%, in fact, in some cases, 80% of the food comes from the region. Now, There's also a major program on animal welfare. We started out in 2017 with a special initiative, which began with a roundtable for, it concluded with the roundtable for great animal welfare. And the findings from this roundtable is now being translated into the administration. We're working out minimum requirements and also awarding criteria for the purchase of products of animal origin. And again, we are interested in labeling of origin and type of husbandry for food subs so that consumers can really understand where our food, in fact, does come from. Also, the avoidance of food waste is very important. Cooperation with various institutions such as Vienna, which provides free of charge food for people in need, is important. But we also have the Nussbox, which is a carrier bag that people can ask at restaurants to take leftover food home from their own meals. Activities for the promotion of green events. There's also quality seal, natürlich gut essen. There's bronze, silver, and gold. Gold is 100% organic. We have several gastronomic enterprises in Vienna, even sausage stands and kebab stands that have been certified with the seal of quality. And of course, enterprises, companies, farms, and event organizers also receive seal of quality as green events. And this takes me to the end of my presentation. For some time, we have been cooperating with a civil society on a food strategy. This civil society is represented by the Food Policy Council. It's a corporation that currently is in its first feedback loop. And now we will start with a major participation process. So this is the position of the city of Vienna. And now let me put on my moderator hat. Just one thing. I also want to ask a question to the plenary. It fits in well with COP26 in Glasgow. We've heard that the food system is answerable for 25 to 30% of greenhouse gases worldwide. And we know that 600,000 of tons of GMO soy is transported into Austria. And great part of arable land, 60% are used for also for planting feed. We know that also rainforest is being destroyed for this purpose. But at the same time, we cannot fully understand this carbon dioxide balance because this destruction of the environment is unfortunately financed. And so we have a communication problem, and I would really like to know from other cities, how do you try to resolve the problem of communication, of communicating the true value of food? Now, I would like to announce the second speaker. We've already heard that Vienna is not an island entire of itself, but it's embedded in its environs in Lower Austria, the federal province that surrounds it, and a number of vegetable types come from Lower Austria. A study from 2017 has shown that about 380,000 tons of vegetables, 70 different types of vegetables are produced around Vienna and imported into the city. And this is much above the quantity that is actually consumed, because consumers consume only 290,000 tons. So we are, as we've already heard, we should eat much more vegetables. But even if we met the recommendations for vegetables, we could still meet the need. Not all of these vegetables are organically grown. They still have a big potential there. And the next presentation will be given by Gabriele Homolka, Vienna Environmental Council in Wiener Umweltberatung, and she will speak about the possibility for consumers to purchase organically grown vegetables through direct marketing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your introduction. My name is Gabriele Homolka. I'm a nutrition scientist. I'm working for the Umweltberatung, the Environmental Advisory Board in the field of organic food. We've heard a lot about production, that Vienna produces a lot of organic food. But for the consumers, we have not heard where they can buy organic food. Supermarkets are the primary source of food for Austrians. Most buy their organic products there. But what other possibilities do exist? I brought along a chart. We also have that in the form of a poster. It's a decision-making tree. In this way, we wanted to demonstrate the options consumers have to get organic food, and you will probably see there are several options. There's not a single solution. You do not need to buy organic products in supermarkets, but there are many possibilities for buying sustainable products. I just want to mention a few. There are even many more, of course, directly from producers, from farmers. You can get organic food. That's the most direct option. But you can also go to a farmer's market. Of course, not everything on the farmer's market is produced organically, but in cities, this is a very good option. Food co-ops are booming. You can become a member of a community-supported agriculture. You can simply order an organic food box or order online from your favorite producer. And something that has been mentioned before today is that the pandemic brought along lots of disadvantages, but the numerous options for consumers to buy regional organic products. This has been realized during the pandemic also by producers. And accordingly, they adapted their marketing. In Vienna, you can buy local, regional and organic food on food markets. Naschmarkt is the biggest market in Vienna. There are 120 stands there. On weekends, you have a farmer's market or in an organic market, but also on other markets such as Kutschaka market or Kamilita market, you can get best quality in the center of Vienna. There's also a dedicated organic food market at Freyung with approximately 20 stalls where you can buy organic wines, vegetables, fruits, everything that really boomed last year. We also saw that on our website, where we have a listing of all local organic boxes, and that list was visited more frequently than any other article on our website. this gives you the opportunity to have organic products delivered to your home. There are 18 providers in Vienna, and some of them just started to deliver to Vienna last year. There are 50 all over Austria, which is quite remarkable. A specialty I would like to mention is there are specialized organic boxes who do not deliver perfect vegetables, but also food that would go to waste because of the irregular shapes, which is an initiative to avoid food waste. Many people also want to have a more personal contact to the producers. And in that case, corporations are a good thing. Formerly, people maybe joined forces with the neighbors, but nowadays you have food co-ops where people organize purchasing from farmers. If you want to have even further personal touch, you can take part in community-supported agriculture and share the risk with the farmers for good harvests, but also poor wastes, and you get a fixed share of the harvest. Something that has grown in importance in rural areas. These are 24-hour vending machines for vegetables and fruits, but also eggs and other products. You insert coins and get the food. This is, can hardly see that in Vienna, but maybe this is something that will increase in future. Finally, also would like to point out that there are also zero waste shops, and it is good to see that this is there's an increasing trend for that in Austria. We already have 7 zero waste shops in Vienna. And that was actually what I wanted to present. Finally, I have a question to you. Do you, in your cities, recognize trends that we have not noticed in Vienna and where we could learn from you? Thank you very much to Gabriele Homolka for this good overview of direct marketing in Vienna. The next presentation will focus on participation of citizens, and only a few we have already heard of several initiatives, and Sabrina Halkic of the Local Agenda 21 will present such activities. I think she will speak in English, and I would like to give the floor to her.
Hello to everyone in the room. Hello to everyone online. My name is Sabrina Halkic. I'm the Managing Director of Local Agenda 21 in Vienna. We are an organization that works with citizens to push for sustainable development in the city. And our main focus is on the Sustainable Development Goals and also the United Nations Agenda 2030. I was very happy I was invited to speak to you today on the topic of how to actively engage citizens, how to involve them, how to empower them to contribute something to regional and biological consumption in the city. And while preparing, I checked what section am I on, what am I speaking on, and I saw, okay, the section is called Best Practice Bio-Consumption in Vienna. And this is clear, it comes to everyone's mind, okay, people are consumers, we need to change consumer patterns, and then we can change the whole system. But I think this may be the first error of reasoning when actually thinking about it, because people can be much more. They're never solely consumers. They're producers, they're educators, they're food waste managers, and so much more. So when starting this presentation, I want you all to think about that it's important to never forget that people play many roles and cannot just be reduced to their role as a consumer. Everyone in the room, probably everyone online and everyone in the world knows a healthy plant grows from the bottom up. And this should also be the core message when it comes to sustainable development. For good, healthy, sustainable societies, we need to do it from the bottom up. And we need to involve citizens to ensure that we have good regional and ecological food in our cities. That's why we, as the Lokale Agenda, work with in cooperation with the city of Vienna. With people, we hear their fears, their wishes. We want to know what they want. We develop ideas together, and then eventually we also realize them together. And that's how also how everybody gets to make a change, not only by consuming differently, but actually contributing to a better society. I've brought four small-scale examples from Vienna, and we heard from our colleague at the FAO before, aiming high, doing concrete, and this is also the topic I chose, think global, act local, and we know this since 30 years, since Rio in the 90s. So I think it's really important to get into doing stuff and not only just talking about it. So I have brought four examples. The first one is an educational workshop at Babenhäufer. It's a group of citizens that wanted to create an educational workshop by citizens for citizens. So their main perspective or principle, if you want to name it like that, is that the sustainable lifestyle can only grow when we share knowledge about it. And that's so true. It's so easy and so true. So what they do there is they have workshops on like all kind of topics that kind of concern the sustainable lifestyle. So this can be, for example, myths on diet and nutrition, or how food consumption is also connected to climate change. The second project I have brought to you is a project that focuses on the topic of food loss. This was a group of people who are gardeners. They produce veggies and fruit by themselves, and they had the problem that they produced so much of it that they had to throw it away. And they were thinking, oh my God, how can this be? We produce fruit and vegetable food here, and then we contribute something to the food loss society. This makes no sense. So they connected with the Lokale Agenda in Donaustadt. Vicky is one of the team members. And they put up this project where what they call too much fruit or veggies we like to share, and they put up flyers on fences of their neighbors, other gardeners, and said, okay, do you have maybe too much you want to share? And not only share and swap fruit or vegetables, also, for example, help out with the harvest, or give the fruit to someone else to produce jam if you don't want to do it, or swap recipes on interesting recipes you can do with the food you produce. And it worked very well. There were a lot of people who took part in the network, and the group is very happy that their initiative is contributing something that food loss can be reduced in the city. The next example I have brought to you is a community garden. We have really a lot in Vienna. You probably also know them from your cities. What is interesting about this community garden at Paradiesgartel is that the property is actually owned by the city of Vienna. Herbert Weidinger already said it before, that there are some initiatives of the city in order to in order to work with citizens on properties that are owned by the cities, and this is one of them. So Agenda in the Donaustadt organized a participation process where they asked the people, what do you want to see? What should be developed here? And a lot of the people contributed, and what they said is, we want to stay near natural and we want to have a community garden there. So this is what happened. There's a big community of gardeners now there, but it also turned into something much more. It turned into a place for everyone where you can chill, relax, spend your time with friends, and also garden there. And the last project I have brought to you is a very new initiative from last year from Vienna. It's called Junges Grätzl. So we try to support activities from kids and teenagers for kids and teenagers. And there was this one group at the youth center who had the idea to build healthy food corners in Viennese parks. They wanted the children that go to the youth center and also their parents to have access to healthy food very nearby when visiting the park. So we did this project with them. It was established in 3 Viennese parks. And the kids learned a lot about how to grow their own food, about healthy snacking, but also what they learned is that you can make a change if you want to. And if you have the possibility to work on something, you can actually contribute to a better future in society. So I want to close this impulse I gave with a few words from Franz Timmermans. And he spoke in Vienna in June this year at the Austrian World Summit. And he said the transition will be just or just will not be. And it really stuck with me because when we are leading the ecological transition, we must think about the social issues and the social perspective that comes with it. And we will have to combine the necessary changes with individual social improvements. It's the only way that people will go along with us. So to make it just, we have also to build it from the bottom up. And take the citizens along on our journey. So I hope this sticks with you, and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Sabina Halkic, for these insights and also for the call that everybody can make a contribution. A special form of public participation is the nutrition strategy, and I welcome Charlotte Kottusch and Anna Krulis to the stage. They will speak about the nutrition strategy, and they will speak about the world played field. I think they will also speak in English, and I invite them to take the floor.
Hello? Yeah. Hello, hi, my name is Charlotte Kottusch.
And my name is Anna Krulis.
And we are very happy to be here today with you, and very much in the spirit of Sabina Halkic, we will now present to you who we are and what we do. So we both are part of the Vienna Food Policy Council, or in German Ernährungsrat Wien, which is a civil society platform for the transformation towards a more just and sustainable food system for the Vienna city region. We were founded in 2018 and are now around 50 people, mostly engaged citizens and many with some relation to the food system, and all working on a voluntary basis. So why do we do this? We have a vision of the city's food system with the core elements of good food for all, food sovereignty, and very importantly, a strong democratic control and participatory governance over our food system that is based on sustainability, justice, and diversity. And to get there, we think it's very important to connect the knowledge and concerns of as many organizations and actors of the Viennese food systems to also promote the understanding of the different perspectives and needs. And that we are very sure leads to much better coordinated solutions and actions that then also contributes to more localized food system, not only in terms of food production, but very importantly also in terms of decision-making processes. And that again leads us again closer to our vision. So what exactly are we doing? Following our mission, our activities mainly aim at creating opportunities for participation of citizens, for knowledge exchange, and for transformative action. So they range from actually very long-term processes and strategic work to continuous activities in the 4 working groups you can see up there, to very concrete projects such as the World Plate Land or Welttellerfeld in German that Anna will present later, to other events or roundtables. I will present you just a few examples. The food strategy that Thomas had mentioned already is an ongoing joint strategy work together with the City of Vienna Environmental Protection, including relevant stakeholders and us, the civil society. And it is divided in 4 chapters and does not only contain our targets and measures, but also, and very importantly, indicators to see how implementation works. And we are currently, as Thomas also mentioned already, at the status where we had feedback from more than 100, or we had more than 100 active stakeholders from the Viennese food system in our feedback rounds, and are now including this feedback in the strategy, and will then later on also have a public feedback process. Other activities, as the mentioned roundtables, for example, we had one just last week with more than 40 stakeholders from public or private community catering services to address challenges and opportunities in this field. So we brought these people together to one table to discuss. And as an example of our awareness raising work, for example, we had our latest social media campaign to look at the impact of the COVID pandemic on our food system, which very interestingly showed how all its components are actually really strongly interlinked. And those activities and our involvement in related debates have, for example, already led to position papers, such as our latest ones on food labeling and true costs and cost transparency. So last but not least, we also have very many projects and ideas in the pipeline. For example, a citizen science project to map alternative food sources in Vienna, or a competition to look at innovative logistic networks to better bridge between regional producers and the urban dwellers in Vienna. But now Anna will zoom in a bit closer to one of our projects, the Welttellerfeld.
Thank you. I'm happy to highlight one of our larger projects, as already mentioned by Charlotte, the Welttellerfeld, which is, well, the title works in German, or at least we think it does. Maybe it's only because we've said it 1,000 times and it sounds familiar to us. We tried to translate it and it came out like World Plate Field or World Plate Land, which sounds a bit off. But we chose this literal translation because the title bears meaning, but I will come back to that a little later. So what is the Welttellerfeld? Sorry. The Welttellerfeld is an interactive learning environment on an area of 3,500 square meters in the 22nd district of Vienna. But maybe you're wondering why 3,500 square meters? That's the land used to produce food for an average person in Austria per year. To frame it differently, it's the land we need to produce the vegetables, the animal-based products, the cereals to eat for 1 year if you're a person living in Austria. Where do we get the numbers? They're based on data from the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, calculated in a model by researchers at the Vienna. You can see a map of the Welttellerfeld over there. I hope the ones joining us online can also see the map. You can see there are 4 main areas. There's a blue, a green, a yellow, and an orange area. And according to these 4 areas, you can divide the Welttellerfeld or your own consumption into the area that's in Austria, which is the yellow and the orange. And then there's the area outside of Austria. So we also use land that doesn't even lie in Austria. That's the orange and the blue. And if you look at it from, like, if you divide it in the middle, you can see the green and the blue. That's the area that's used for grazing and for the production of fodder. And then the orange and the yellow for direct human consumption. Thank you, Charlotte. Keep in mind that that's just an average. So if you're on a vegan or vegetarian diet, or if you're not living in Austria, then your individual Welttellerfeld may look different. It's just to, to get an orientation. These colors, you can also find them when you're at the Welttellerfeld. We have some impressions, some photos we took. We do have a lot of plans and ideas for the project. We also got new ideas today and new chances for cooperation, I think. So we might reach out to you afterwards. You can already visit the Welttellerfeld. It's open access. Just please close the gate after you were here, because the deers also want to take a look at the Welttellerfeld, and we're not very eager to have them there. As you can see in the photos, we already had workshops with school children. We do have a lot of volunteers who visit us regularly and help us shape the Welttellerfeld. And we also have guided tours where you can learn more about your food consumption. In the future, we want to establish a broader educational program, peer-to-peer learning, trainings for educators, team building possibilities, and so forth. I've always been talking about the we, so I haven't really said who we are. Well, of course, it's the Food Policy Council Vienna, but we cooperate with Brot für die Welt Österreich and Kleine Stadtfarm. The Welttellerfeld is located at Kleine Stadtfarm, and Hallo Klima is also one of our partners. At the moment, we do get funding from the Austrian Development Agency and the city of Vienna, whom we very much would like to keep as our permanent partners in the realization of the Welttellerfeld. What? Also. There's a slide missing, but never mind. Sorry. We are establishing the Welttellerfeld because we recognize a lack in food literacy and awareness, and we want to create a place for everyone to discover, to participate, to get on the slide, which is missing, but you can see the logo, and that's also what the title represents. We have the world, die Welt, the origin, which symbolizes the global food system, food production, land use change, climate justice, supply chains, resource consumption, so that when you visit the Welttellerfeld, you always keep in mind that there's a broad interconnectedness, and that our food isn't just on our plate. The teller, the plate, the dietary patterns represent healthy, fresh food, plant and animal-based diet, food waste, packaging. There are a lot of topics that come to mind when we look at our actual plate and our food on the plate. And then there's the Feld, the land, the appreciation. That's the actual agricultural production. So what's needed to produce our food? What are labor conditions? What about nutrient cycles, biodiversity, ecosystems? That's also where we can get a good connection to the conference today, because we do work organic on the field, and people are invited to see and learn what that actually means on the field. And how do we want to talk about all these big topics, all these complex topics? First, we don't just want to talk about it. We want people to feel it, to smell it, to taste, experience, participate, and experiment, to use their hands. We use the global education as guiding principles. And well, I'm coming to an end. I think I've used a lot of time. We want people, especially young people, to discover solutions on their own, to get possibilities to act on an individual, but also on a system level. And yeah, well, I could tell you much more about the Welttellerfeld, but our time is limited. And on the next slide, if you want to get more information on the Food Policy Council Vienna or the Welttellerfeld, come and visit us on our websites, or we're of course also on social media. Yes, and of course we also want to invite you to engage.
Yeah, exactly. So you could see from that project and the before mentioned projects, a lot is going on, a lot had happened already and is still ongoing, but there's also still enough to be done. So there is no precondition to join us. Whoever wants to contribute to a more socially and ecologically sustainable food system in Vienna is very welcome to join us.
And we also prepared a question for the audience because we're eager to see how you in other cities manage to engage the citizens, because what would citizens be without cities be without citizens? And what are your experiences and best practice examples for awareness rising, and also how it can be scaled up to reach a broader audience and not only people that are already interested in these topics? Thank you.
Thanks.
Vielen Dank für die wirklich große Vielfalt, was da in Wien gibt. Da haut es ja die Schuhe raus.
Incredible. This is really impressive. There's enormous diversity in Vienna. Since we're a little tired, I will be brief, but still I have several questions that I want to ask you. One question was to Mr. Moser. It's a big question, I must say. What can be done to minimize food waste? Should you try to recover food, or should you try to avoid it at all? Is it a push or a pull factor? Well, the question of food loss and food waste is really a big, big issue. On an average, Vienna throws away food for 400 euros per year per household. On the one hand, of course, this is because the use-by date is over and people don't want to use the food anymore, and sometimes they purchase too much and don't eat everything. People don't eat everything they've bought, but there are also there are possibilities for easily avoiding food waste. For example, at events, lots of food remains This can be given to people, well, such as the pumpkins today. They are not waste, of course, but it's easily possible with the Genussbox bag, multi-use bag. People can take leftover food home. A lot remains, of course, in retail and supermarkets just because the product's use-by date has expired. Here too, we have already have a very strong cooperation with Wiener Tafel and other organizations that pass on this food to persons in need, or that also process this food for meals. For us, it's mainly an organizational question. We need a more effective management on what do we need, what do we have to actually purchase and consume. Another tricky question. How can a private consumer get organic food in restaurants? How can you convince restaurant owners to use organic food? What are your experiences? Well, I've already presented one column of your field of activities, our seal of quality, natürlich gut essen. This offers targeted counseling for restaurants in the context of business counseling here in Vienna, and sometimes it's even free of charge, in order to inform restaurants, bars, restaurants, and cafes to make the transition. And this quality sale exists, as I've said, in bronze, silver, and gold. And gold is a kind of gold is really means that a restaurant is 100% organic, and the people who've raised the arm are people who know about this seal of quality. Yes. Nina? Yes, yes. Consumers are demanding more and more organic food. And this is something that is also being listened to. And of course, we as consumers have continued to demand this, and also patronize restaurants that actually offer bio food. Yeah, there are 18 providers of the organic food box. BioKisl is the one provider that is actually domiciled in Vienna. That's a good question. Well, they do purchase some products from abroad, but there are some of the companies are domiciled in Vienna because there is a lot of arable land in Vienna, so we thought that all organic food boxes are fully Viennese. No, well, because we want a great variety of products, and this is why we also have products from other federal provinces of Austria. So thank you very much. It's really a very, very comprehensive overview. I would like to thank the panelists. And now, I would like to start the final phase of our conference.
As we said, the conference will be documented on our website. Please, all of you who are present here, take a pumpkin and join us for a group photo. I would like to say goodbye from the Volkskunde Museum in Vienna. It was a very dense, complex event.